Hey, everybody. Welcome to the PISCOPOD. My name is Sasha. I'm your host. It's episode 4 that we're at. Having a lot of fun doing it, getting a lot of positive feedback. So I'm glad you guys are writing in and tuning in and stuff like that. If this is your first time watching, click the subscribe button down below. Drop me a line on some of the stuff that I'm going through, and let's get some dialogue going. I'm finding more and more these days that these independent news sources, and when I say independent, you still have to do your research because there's a lot of phonies out there as well. But, you'll learn to discern between the ones that are, trying to tell you as much truth as they can glean off of, the current situations, and those ones that are just completely giving you a slanted narrative for whatever reason, whether it be their own agenda or whether it's, sponsorship agenda, whatever the case is. Anyway, we are in the bowels of Sin City Sound Recording Studios here in the foothills of Alberta. Glorious day out there today. And for my Canadian friends, happy Canada Day, eh? It's a little preemptive strike as we... as my American friends like to call it, wink, wink. Anyway, so it's Canada Day long weekend here, up past the 49th parallel. And again, a beautiful day outside, celebrating 158 years of this great country. Well, let's say 148, because the last 10 years or so have been quite the shit show. And the shit show continues. Preemptive Happy Independence Day for all of my American friends. The United States of America is celebrating, I believe it's 250 years of independence. So, yeah, 250 years of independence. They've been at war a long, long time. Many of those 250 years, keeping the world safe and other things under the guise of keeping the world safe. We're now at the end of June, and thank goodness it's over on numerous fronts. It seems that as of now, we've kind of averted World War III, I think. They're not talking about vaporizing anybody anymore at the moment, but, who knows? Who knows what tomorrow will bring? What else? The end of June also signals the end of Pride Month, and I, for one, am glad that I can finally pack away my crotchless underwear. But yeah, so the end of Pride Month, it has been an interesting one, to say the least. If you've kind of have your eyes open and occasionally watch some TV or get any sort of algorithms on your telephone where literally everything, they're selling hemorrhoid medication, and it has to be, two women holding hands down the beach. Now, I'm not a prude. I get the fact that this stuff happens, but it's hard not to think that this is a concerted effort to kind of bombard you with this and normalize it, right? Not saying that it's not normal, but to have everything slanted towards that, it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind that we continue to allow this stuff to happen in our media, in our schools, stuff like that. On the positive note, though, for the end of June, the Supreme Court of the United States, I believe they voted in favor of letting parents make decisions on behalf of their own children when it comes to things like LGBTQ plus, whatever the fuck else is on that thing. When it comes to their children in school, learning about stuff like that. I can't believe we're having this conversation that this is a big deal. To me, it seems like a no-brainer, right? If it's your child, You should have the final say above anybody else as to what your child should be exposed to or can be exposed to. It seems that this is kind of a hollow victory because it's like, oh, well, we'll give you this. This is something that I think that parents had all along, or they certainly should have. Anyway, so that's a good thing. That signals the end of Pride Month. Goes out with a bang. And, pardon the pun, kind of slid that in the back door right before the end of it all. Anyway, I do feel for my LGB friends. I've said this in other podcasts. I believe that your movement was headed in the right direction, can still head in the right direction, but somewhere along the line, it got hijacked. It got hijacked as a social movement, and it went completely the other way, to the extreme. Any of the gay friends that I know and love and have, they're not like anything like I see on, the social media feeds and these protests with these screaming lunatics on both sides of the fence. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that, the other side of this spectrum is guiltless, for lack of a better word, because there's wackadoos on either side of this shit show. But, the gay friends that I have, they're not like this. They're not screaming, they're not like, ready to have me arrested if they don't use pronouns, to be honest with you. They're not call me a they, them, or an it, she, or a she, it, or whatever, right? They're not like that. They're just gay. They're talented people. They're wonderful human beings. They're beautiful souls. And I think that perhaps out of trepidation that they can't even speak out in reference to how this movement has been hijacked on them. The boys can be girls, and if you're an intact male, but you just literally change your name to a feminine name, that you can, go in women's locker rooms, deny women medals and acknowledgments and accolades, that Leah Thomas is always, you kind of have to feel bad, but you kind of don't, because that was kind of thrust into the forefront as the poster child of this nonsense. But, this guy, who's a shitty swimmer as a dude, and then just cleans house as a female collegiate swimmer. And anybody that speaks out against that and says, wait a minute, this doesn't seem fair, right? The guy still has a unit, and he just grew his hair. I mean, like, can I go into the girls' locker room? Look at me. I got long hair. My name is Sasha from birth. I mean, if that doesn't give me the carte blanche into the ladies' locker room at the Y, then what does, right? The beard, is that the only thing that throws, that makes it different from me than a guy, me as a guy getting arrested and some other dude that's like, oh, he's so brave and he's identifying. Anyway, that's here nor there, because we are at the end of it now. June month is officially over, not tomorrow, but the day after, on Canada's 158th birthday. What else? What else do I got to share with you folks? Trump, our good old Southern friend, Donald Trump Jr. He basically ended trade talks with our illustrious economist, Montgomery Burns Carney. He wasn't too impressed with some of the shenanigans Prime Minister Carney was, unleashing, and he decided to hammer us even more. So I don't know when this whole elbows up thing starts taking effect, but it seems more to me like Mr. Burns is more like grabbing his ankles and biting the pillow as opposed to the elbows up. He's in emergency meetings in Parliament because he knows that, the chickens are coming home to roost. And, of course, it's an emergency meeting at Parliament because he closed Parliament for the summer holidays after which must have been horrendous, 4 weeks of official Canadian business this past year, because they basically prorogued the government and shut her down while they planted this puppet. He's basically our Joe Biden, for lack of a better word, because he is touted as, he's the only guy that can navigate these stormy economic waters with the United States. And I'm living it, man. I don't see him weathering nothing. I see it becoming more and more of a shit show every day. Prices are up like a toilet seat. Last week at this time, I think it was $1.45 a liter. And we're back down to, I think I seen it today when I was out and about buying tequila. I think it was at $1.14 down in the area that I live. So everything is up and down like a toilet seat. 1 minute we're bombing somebody, the next minute we're not bombing anybody, but Parliament is closed except for emergency meetings that media isn't allowed to be a part of, and because it's an emergency closed-door meeting, none of the opposition, if you will, is part of those meetings as well. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on, man? Seriously, am I living in the Twilight Zone? These are people that my tax dollars pay their salary, and they're basically telling me, listen, man, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. And if you don't like it, take a long, hard suck. They don't give a shit what their people say. Everybody in Canada knows that federal elections are won in Ontario and Quebec. Western provinces, they just have their pockets reached into, which is fine if it's a random encounter in the bar, but not when it's the government coming after everything that you work for, from your pensions to your home equity to your RRSPs, 401ks, for lack of a better word for my American friends. But they're literally coming for everything, spending it. Hey, let's give Ukraine some more money, right? Because Zelensky, he seems like such a, man of the people for Ukraine. As I see the videos of his bootlickers jumping citizens on the street and dragging him into vans and off to war. It seems like I'm living in the fucking Twilight Zone, people. I am glad, though, that Carney, for us Canadians, he had that big middle-class tax cut, which amounted to, I think the report said $298 per person or per family even. So that's great. I got another $298 in my pocket at the end of the year. So when I go to Costco for some steaks to barbecue for my Canada Day celebrations, it's like $98 for a pack of steaks. $98, man. And I'm telling you, unless that steak comes walking in my front door and gives me a reach around before jumping on the barbecue, I don't want to pay $98 for a steak, man. Sorry. But yeah, that's what's happening. Groceries are crazy. Energy prices are crazy. I live in a province where we have stockpiles of energy. Stockpiles, but our federal government will not let us bring it to market. We're landlocked. It's not like we can dig a canal to get tankers or what have you. I think it's a huge failure on previous governments, whether they be liberal or conservative governments. I think a big failure that we don't have a refinery here. It makes no sense to me, like that we ship all our shit halfway across, not the world, but at least the continent, down into the United States and stuff like that. We ship all this stuff out there so that they can refine it and more or less sell it back to us. I'm no oil tycoon, but to me, it seems like having a refinery somewhere along the lines where we don't have to pipe the oil out other than to market would be, pretty no-brainer business move. Again, I don't know. I'm just saying, we have lots of energy. Energy is in huge demand. I think our former Prime Minister, Mr. Fancy Socks Trudeau, with his nice hair, I think he shit the bed on $4 trillion of liquid natural gas to Europe, to the European Union, and to, I believe it was Japan. So we got so much money, we're just like going, nah, come on, man. That's just fucking Pez. I don't need that cash. So that's what's going on in the world today as well. Alberta government, though, Danielle Smith, I have to give her some kudos. I read a report. I haven't been able to substantiate it quite yet, but I have read a report that she's going to be cutting some of the government service for immigrants that are literally pouring into our economy with no forethought by our federal government. Housing prices are through the roof. I have a family member that pays more for this shitty apartment townhouse kind of thing than I've ever paid on any home I've ever owned as far as a mortgage payment. So they're paying rent, right? And then as the energy fluctuates, that pricing goes up, to your monthly bills. And then you have the, sometimes misfortune of a landlord that, can use the market to his favor, right? Supply is low, demand is high. I've read numerous friends that who are like, man, my rent went up like $600 and or $300, and in this day and age when everybody is pinching pennies, $300, $400, $500 extra every month is a hard pill to swallow, especially because, these people aren't slackers. These are all hardworking people that have good jobs that pay once upon a time good money. You go back to the living wage and the minimum wage, the $15 an hour. Who can live on $15 an hour, man? $98 for a pack of steaks, man, and you're making $58 and you're making $15 an hour. You got to work half the day just to get meat. If you want potatoes, throw in some overtime. It is bonkers. But then you got people like Jeff Bezos. Things ain't tough for him. He's been already married a month to that ghoul that he wed. But still, to kind of swing his wang in front of everybody to show how much money he has, he decided to spend another $55 million on basically a reception, a party, because he's already been married. Accounts have said that him and his wife have been married for about a month already. So this was just a party. So what kind of party does one of the richest men on the planet throw? Well, let me tell you. there's no worry about carbon footprint with this gentleman because 200 guests arrived in 95 private jets. That's right, 95 private jets. So literally every couple basically had their own private jet that flew to Venice. The Italians are through the roof in anger. They basically shut the place down, closed the canals. I read reports that local Italians, they were like threatening to throw like alligators into the canals and shit like that, just to ruin Bezos's wedding. But yeah, 95 jets. Are you folks waking up yet? Like, we're talking about in Canada carbon taxes and carbon footprints, and this D-bag and 200 ghoulish, ultra-rich people that aren't even his friends. They just want to be seen with him because it's good for business, man. It's good for business. So anyway, 200 of his friends arrive in 95 private jets, and my prime minister thinks that air travel should go up in price for the average person, and all gas-powered vehicles should be phased out by 2030. Are they going to have electric jets by 2030? Asking for a friend. So yeah, so that's what 95 jets. He also had 2 yachts, one for all the toys and some of the guests that he didn't want on his main yacht, but 2 yachts for I think it was a week-long festivity. So that's what the rich are doing. They don't give a shit about carbon footprint. They don't give a shit about killing polar bears and bald eagles and melting ice caps and stuff like that. They just want to make sure that they got air conditioning and champagne as they take a 30-foot private jet with another one of their favorite people to faraway exotic places so that they can party for someone who was married a month ago. But it's great for PR. It's great for PR. All the Kardashians were there. Oprah Winfrey, when she isn't burning Hawaii down, allegedly, she made an appearance. Orlando Bloom, after the devastating breakup with astronaut Katy Perry, he was there solo. And yeah, it was quite the shindig. Everybody in the 1% of the 1%, they had a great time. All the regular folks in Venice, not so much. Everything, their city was like pretty much closed down while this shenanigans unfolded. So yeah, so the rich people, the entertainers, and the movers and shakers of the world, they're making things happen. Not for us, not for anybody down the line, but for them. They got all the cameras, they got the helicopters flying over, taking videos and stuff like that. For us regular folks, we got Netflix. For some of us that are not so fortunate, we have Canadian Netflix. We've had June here where I live is usually a mixed bag of tricks for weather. You know, rainy yet warm, and then thunder showers and stuff like that. So we've had a bit of a mixed bag of tricks. We had quite the rain pour last weekend. I think it was like 200 millimeters. For my American friends, get a calculator out. It's lots of rain. We had lots of rain. And so in between bursts of roaring heat and thunder showers, I did some Netflixing. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to cancel my Netflix subscription. I don't know what I've been watching that titles like The Ultimate Queer Love appears on my algorithm of movies that I should be seeing. But as I perused the Canadian Netflix, which for my American friends is actually different than American Netflix, I think American Netflix has like 6,000 more titles of movies that aren't available in Canada for whatever goofy reason. No borders unless it's entertainment and internet and stuff like that. Then it's okay. Then we're Canada and they're the United States. But yeah, so I got all this weird shit popping up into my Netflix, and I'm like, why am I paying like, what is it now, 17, 18 bucks a month for this schlock? Foreign language stuff. Asian with English subtitles. Not interested. LGBTQ plus content. Not interested. What I do see a lot of things on Netflix lately is what is going on with white female teachers in the United States. And, every second or third one of them is porking one of their underage students. It's a pretty wild phenomenon. And it seems to me, maybe again because of the Netflix programming, but it seems to me there's a lot of documentaries on the same kind of narrative. Female teachers, people in position of power taking advantage of underage students. And it's all females. You're either not hearing about the males, which I don't think in this day and age, because that would be all over the news, but it's certainly a lot of female teachers. Makes me think, are these teachers getting into that line of work in order to, hey man, that's like, that's like the diabetic working at the Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. You know what I mean? It's like, hey man, I got access to all the sweet things. But I'm seeing a lot of that. Again, not interested. What do you say, folks? Drop me a line, man. I am navigating these same waters that you guys are. Some of it's frightening. Some of it is downright confusing. And some of it is like, nah, there's no fucking way that I'm going to stand for this shit anymore. I'm tired of the government's reaching into my pockets. I'm tired of funding wars in foreign lands that have nothing to do with me, but for some reason they need my tax dollars in order to fund it, and I can't say anything about it. Like, am I the only one that thinks that makes absolutely zero sense by any metric? It's my money. I'm being extorted, for lack of a better word, because I have to pay it by penalty of jail. I have to pay it to you, and then I don't even have a say in how you spend it or where you spend it. Right? And as soon as you do say something, well, then they lump you into a category. You're an anti-Semite, or you're Islamophobic, or you're homophobic. And, I said this, I believe, on my last podcast. I don't give a fuck anymore with these labels. I really don't. I'm going to stand for what I believe in. I'm going to push back wherever I can push back about things that should be pushed back upon. I think that as citizens of North America, of any country, I think that we should be very cognizant at how our liberties are being stripped away a little bit at a time. We were warned about this, and everybody, that's a conspiracy theory. You guys don't know what you're talking about. It's not a conspiracy theory. Look around you. Think back 15, 20 years. And granted, 20 years in this day and age is a long, long time. And I'm all for progression and moving everything forward and stuff like that. But you can't tell me that things are better now, even under Trump, but he's only been in it now for 6 months. But nobody can say, and and I would call you a liar if you did, but like nothing that's happening now is as good as it once was, in my opinion. Everything's more expensive. Everything is unsafer. Everything's unsafer for people in general. Everything's super more unsafer for women. Just the city that I live in, I would not feel safe letting my wife take like the public transit, let's say down to a seminar or a meeting in downtown Calgary. We have a light rail transit train that basically goes from one end of the city to the other, and it's rife with assaults and stabbings and throwing people in front of the tracks and the train of debauchery. And what does our mayor do about it? Nothing. She's busy. She's busy buying artwork and for the city and shaking hands with the president when he flies into town for a day. But as far as the general citizens of Calgary, she's not really doing that much. We actually tried to oust her, but the system is so rigged to oust a sitting incumbent that it's near impossible. No, it's not near impossible. It's impossible to meet that threshold of what needs to be met in order to kick an incompetent, danger to the community, I dare say. And you just have to jump through so many hurdles and so much stuff in order to do it. They make it impossible to do. So, the only way to do it is through the voting process when their term runs out. And that's why you can see places like New York, places like here in Calgary, places like here in Alberta with Naheed Nenshi running the NDP party and stuff like that. They just keep importing people that are going to vote in their favor. And that's the bottom line, because if you're an immigrant that knows nothing about the political system here and all you see on TV is someone of your nationality or color espoused to how bad the white people have been and how bad the government is if you let the white government run the show, how else are you going to vote? You don't know any better, right? And it's a hell of a lot better than probably where you come from. So it's like, ooh, this sounds like a good candidate to vote for. Anyway, I digress. We live to fight another day. It is a beautiful day where I am here, so I'm going to get out with the dogs and enjoy some swim time and hike time. I'd like to congratulate a couple of my friends. I'm not going to mention their name because I don't want to get anybody into trouble for the shit that I talk about. So anyway, he knows who he is because him and his beautiful fiance, they just got engaged today down in the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Alberta. Of Alberta. He spends his summers out here, and he's a Canuck. And I just want to say, buddy, I'm so thrilled. Happy engagement day. It couldn't happen to a nicer couple of people. And congratulations. Congratulations, guys. I hope you have many, many wonderful years. And I hope that Canada will still be around for you to come back and forth to every year before it turns into, we're looking at it. We're looking at what it's turning into. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate all the time and the kind comments. Please, again, subscribe down below. If you got some ideas of something that I should look into or cover, drop me a line, man. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you are. Give me some ideas on what you'd like to cover. Give me some ideas on some things that you think that I might have got wrong. Because I won't admit it, but sometimes I'm wrong. But happy end of June, June the 29th. And get out there, keep your eyes open, love each other. We'll see you next week. Have a happy holiday. Stay safe. And my American friends, don't blow your fingers off with those fucking 4th of July fireworks, man. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate you guys taking the time. See you next week.